In this video, I'm going to show you how to view the source code of any Cordova application on the App Store. Now, if you're not already familiar, Cordova is what we use in Ionic applications and other front-end frameworks for mobile apps to kind of wrap it in this native shell that allows us to submit it to app stores and also access native APIs. Because it is being wrapped in this sort of native shell and being submitted to an app store, people tend to think that their code is protected, that people won't be able to see the source code for their application. This isn't the case, so it's actually quite easy to, for anyone to view the source code of your application. And so in this video, I'm going to show you how to do that, so you can see, I guess, how easy it is and hopefully reshape the way that you might think about building these applications. And I released a video recently where I talked about some of these security concerns. And I made the point that when building Cordova applications, you should treat your code as if you are building just a normal website. So you should never submit any kind of sensitive information to the App Store. That should never be contained within your app itself. So of course, I could view the source code for any websites like Facebook or Gmail or whatever. I can just inspect Element in the browser and take a look at their front-end code. Now, you're not going to find any sensitive information in there. Any sensitive information is going to be stored on the server or something like that. And so it's the same thing with Ionic applications or any Cordova applications. If you have some sensitive information or API keys or things like that, you shouldn't embed them into your application. You should instead store them on a server, for example, and then you could interface with that through your application. So just as an example, what I've done is I've downloaded an app called Untapped. And this is a pretty popular app that's basically like a social network for beer drinking, but it was made with Ionic. So I thought it would be a good example to do. I can't remember if it's Ionic 1 or Ionic 2, but it doesn't really matter. The point is that we'll be able to extract the source code. And I hope the people who made Untapped don't mind me poking around in their application a bit. So basically what we can do is, obviously I'm on a Mac here. I've got iTunes installed. And before I started this video, I downloaded Untapped through iTunes. So now I'll be able to go to my iTunes folder and I'll be able to see that IPA file, which is the natively built file you get from Cordova. I'll be able to see that on my computer and I'll be able to do some stuff with that. So if I navigate now, this may be slightly different on your computer. Hopefully it's not too different, but you could probably Google where you can find the IPA file. But in my case, I can go to my music folder, and then there's a folder called iTunes, and inside of here we have another folder called iTunes Media. So go into that, and then inside of here we have a folder called Mobile Applications. So again, I'll change to that, and this is where we will find the Untapped IPA. So I've got Untapped 3.0.5.IPA. So that's the native shell that's been, the app has been built with Cordova, and that's the resulting file that ends up getting submitted to the App Store. So if I'll open up my browser here and we'll take a look at it. And so it's just this one file, right? So that's probably why people, assume that you can't really do anything with this. Nobody's going to be able to view your source code. But what you can quite easily do is I'll just make a copy of this and I'll just rename it from .ipa to .zip and just say use zip, and that's changing the file format. So now I'm going to be able to extract everything that's in there. So if I double click this now, that's going to extract everything. And now if I click on that, I can see a few things in here. We have some just metadata files. Then we have the payload of the application, which is the application itself. Now you still can't see too much with this. It's just this weird file that we can't immediately or obviously do anything with. But if you right click on this and go to show package contents, now we can see everything that is contained inside the application. So you can see all the app icons here, all the different splash screens. And more importantly, we have the www folder, which is the compiled source code for the application. So if we click on to that, we can see the various assets in here. This is just the default sort of Ionic icon there. That's probably not even being used. We have some images that will be being used throughout the application. And if we come into the JS file, not the JS file, sorry, the build file, this is where the main code for the application is. So we have the JavaScript file and the CSS file. So I'm just going to open this up now, and it's going to take a few seconds because this is going to be a massive file. As you'll notice, this isn't like the I guess the original source code of the application. If you use Ionic, obviously you have your pages folder. You've got individual pages set up with TypeScript, and everything's all nice and organized. That code isn't included in the IPA package. What we have is the final compiled code, so we don't actually use TypeScript in the end. That the TypeScript files get converted into ES5 JavaScript. Everything's kind of minified, so you get something that looks like this. So it's not like someone's just going to be able to kind of just copy and paste your application and steal all your hard work, although technically this would run that way. But it's all just, if anyone wanted to make changes to this, it would be very, very hard to do. But this is still the source code of the application. So if I had stored, or rather if the Untapped people had stored, say, some secret API keys that people aren't supposed to know about in here, I could probably search through this file and find those and then use that to hack into whatever it is that they're using. Or perhaps, maybe you have some kind of secret business logic, some kind of algorithm that you're using that you've worked on for a year, and it's your patented technology. And if that was contained in your application, then people could reverse engineer that. It's very hard, obviously, to work with this, but it's possible, and there are tools to help reverse engineer things like this. So again, if you want something to be secure, if you don't want people poking around with it, just make sure that you basically just offload that work to the server and then interact with that through an API. If it's sitting on a server somewhere, assuming that the server is secure, nobody's going to be able to look at that. You can try and encrypt and uglify your code as much as you want, but in the end, if someone's, dedicated enough, it is possible for them to reverse engineer that and look at it in the way that I'm looking at it now. So I just wanted to do this video to, show you how trivial it is to poke around in the source code of an application like this, even if it's just from the iOS App Store directly. It's not too hard to do. And it's not a concern, it's not a thing that I consider to be bad about building with Cordova. It's just something that you need to know and make sure that you structure your applications in a way that that's not going to be an issue. Okay, so thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you on the next one.